Hey, Emily. Good morning, everyone. I'm Carrie McFarland. I manage the Tobacco Control and Prevention Program within Multnomah County's Public Health Division. And I have with me, Emily, do you want to introduce yourself since you're on screen?
Sure. Emily Taylor. I'm the Communication Specialist for Tobacco Control and Prevention Program.
Thank you, Emily. And Eric, are you there?
I'm Eric. I'm the tobacco retail inspector that goes out and sees many of you in your stores and or on virtual inspections. Glad to see people are joined.
So if we could, do we want to go around the virtual room and ask for folks if you can give us your name and your store name? That would be helpful to us. And I believe there are 7 of you on the line, up 8 of you. So hang on just a moment. Can I have the person who is called in with phone ending 81? Would you introduce yourself? And if not, we can move down the line. I see a Brett. Would you introduce yourself? Okay, Emily, are we having a tech fail here, or am I just not getting any response?
We might have some people on mute, like Emily's on mute.
I muted myself. I think anyone could unmute themselves at this point. I can't unmute them.
Okay. Is there anyone on the line? Let me start this way. Is there anyone on the line who would like to introduce themselves and tell us what store you are representing today? Go ahead.
Also, hey, I'll go ahead and start it. I'm Tracy Gale, and I'm with Winco Foods.
Thank you, Tracy. Welcome. Anybody else like to introduce themselves?
I'm Jennifer Maley, and I'm also from Winco Foods.
Excellent. Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else? Okay. Well, hearing no one else, Emily, let's go ahead and get started. So again, just to make sure that you all are in the right place at the right time, today is Multnomah County's training on tobacco retail licensing. So a little bit of background here. Why do we have tobacco retail licensing in Multnomah County? And the whole point of our program and the beginning of our program when the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners passed the policy in 2015 was to reduce the access and sales to our young people. At that time in 2015, we unfortunately in Multnomah County had a very high illegal sales rate of tobacco and nicotine products to our youth. And from a public health perspective, we know that early initiation use of nicotine relates to a lifelong addiction, increasing your risk for many health conditions. And we know that the adolescent brain is very susceptible to nicotine. Next slide, Emily. So a couple of health facts here. 1 out of 5 deaths in Oregon today are related to tobacco use. Nearly 9 out of 10 adults who smoke cigarettes daily first tried smoking before the age of 18. Again, this is why we want to prevent our youth from having access to these products. Next slide, please. And perhaps why many of you are here today. Let's get this out of the way. It is an ever-changing landscape in Multnomah County due to the legal challenges. So let's talk about restricting the sale of flavored tobacco and nicotine products in Multnomah County. As many of you know, in December of 2022, our Board of County Commissioners adopted an ordinance stating that the sale of flavored tobacco and nicotine products would no longer be allowed as of January 1st, 2024. They wanted to give you all a year, as well as our program, a year to get ready to implement such a change that would impact your businesses. However, in June of this year, that ordinance was challenged legally, and it was in September that the challenge was dismissed by the courts. And unfortunately, most recently, an appeal was filed earlier this month by the appellant. And then as of last Friday, we learned that the appellants have filed a motion that will stop the implementation of the policy, meaning that until the court process is through and decisions have been made in the form of a final judgment, we are not able to move forward in implementing the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners policy that would have restricted the sale of flavored tobacco and nicotine products in our jurisdiction. So at this moment, we are very much in a status quo situation. Although we as a team were preparing to make this change and support all of you in coming into compliance around this change in policy, as of Friday, last Friday, late breaking news, we received notice that a stay had been filed with the courts in the state of Oregon, and that we are no longer able to move forward to implement that policy until the legal process has concluded. So I'll just pause there. This is late breaking news. And again, I'm guessing that many of you are here because of what we thought we were doing until last Friday. So if you have any questions about the status of the legal challenge and our plans, now is the time to ask those. And certainly if you do not feel comfortable coming off of mute and asking a question, you could drop your question in the Google Meet chat function of this meeting. All right, well, hearing no questions and seeing none in chat, and Emily, please let me know if you see something come through. We'll move forward into our regularly scheduled training. And Eric, I believe this is you.
It is. Good morning. We just all heard, and I just heard the news about the flavor ban this morning. So we will be working. If you do have questions later, or if I come out to your store and you have questions, I will certainly bring some information with me of the latest. But we'll just keep moving forward with the inspection. So there's a variety of inspections that we do here in Multnomah County with your business. When you get your tobacco retail license, or TRL, if you're a brand new business, I'll talk about that in the next slide, but everyone gets one routine inspection a year, and it's not usually around the time your inspection, your license expires. It could be any time during the year, but we just usually come out once a year, and I will be checking to see you have your current license, and see if you have your current license and state signs posted. I'll look at your tobacco products, not your receipts, not your tax stamps. That's Department of Revenue. I get that question a lot. I don't need to see that. That's the state. And if everything looks good, I sign a paper. I usually do it on my app, and we're good to go. Now, if there's an issue, maybe you don't have your current license up for whatever reason, or tobacco products are a little too accessible to your customers, we will work with a remediation plan, and it'll go into recheck. And you have 15 calendar days to work that out. Either get your license from your corporate office or from our office. There's no fee for getting a new license with us. Maybe it was misplaced in the mail, or we're still processing some things on our side. And then I'll come back usually within 3 weeks of my first visit and make sure everything's good to go. So that's what's called a recheck. And I'll go ahead with my app again and sign everybody off. The owners do not need to be there. Managers don't need to be there. I know a lot of times the clerk will call the manager or the owner, which is fine. I'll talk to them on the phone at the store. But you do not need to be present. It's just someone, a person in charge, to sign off that I was there. Also, once a year, we have what's called a youth inspection, and we do this. This is probably the most important inspection, I think. It's where adult staff comes in, or older staff will come in, and then a little bit, 10 seconds, 15 seconds later, a youth will come in. They will be underage. They'll be between the ages of 18 and 20. They will have their real ID. They will not have expired IDs. They will not lie. If you say, how old are you? They'll say their age, 18 or 19 or 20. You need to ask for their ID, and we'll go over some of the ID checking here in a minute. And if your clerk does not sell, we send the youth back and we sign that off in the card and move on to the next store. Now, if there is a sale, you'll get a letter within usually a couple weeks saying that you're going to get a letter either way saying, great job, you did not sell to our undercover youth. If you did sell, you're going to get a penalty, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But we do not let the clerk or manager know at the time of the inspection. I do get that asked a lot. We are not set up to, at that moment, say, oh, you just sold. I know other agencies, maybe the state or feds, will let you know right away that you sold to a minor, but at the county, we have a few weeks, make sure we have the evidence sealed, have a document that's signed by our public health director, and make sure everything was good before we send you the notification. Surveillance means now if you were sold and you'd already sold before, so the second time you'll be what's called a suspension. And unfortunately, a lot of stores have had this happen where they cannot sell products for 30 days. And they have to be covered. You have to have a decal saying you can't sell products, and you cannot sell a product during that time. We send not undercover youth. We send undercover staff to try to see if you meet the requirements of the surveillance. So we will come back during that suspension time to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements. We also get complaints, and these complaints can come from a variety of people. Could be a parent, could be another retailer saying, hey, that store down the hall, down the road is selling to underage minors. Complaints can be anonymous, or we know who they are. If we know who they are, we send a letter to the complainant that we will be taking care of it, and we process a letter to the business saying that we received a complaint on your business and that we will be sending out a decoy undercover staff to make sure you're not selling anymore. Does anyone have any questions about that? If you do, there's a hand raising sign, or you can speak up or write it in the chat. There are a couple additional inspection types. One is the outreach. That's when you have a brand new store. You just made an application. You're brand new to Portland, Multnomah County. And after I review the new application, I'll put, yeah, outreach is needed. There's some rules we need to go over, and I'll come out. It's just a friendly visit. I'll bring a pack of papers and introduce myself to your staff. A consultation is when you say, hey, I need some help. I want to know if this is where I'm supposed to put my sign, or are my tobacco products a way that no one can help themselves to, or you have a question about maybe you're in suspension. Maybe we need to say you need to cover that a little bit better. So that's when you call us, and we'll come out and we'll make an arrangement for that. Monitoring is very interesting. A lot of businesses come and go, as you know. It's a volatile time for our business owners. It didn't work out, or you decided you're not going to be in that location anymore. You let us know that you closed, you're not selling anymore. Maybe you didn't close. Maybe you just said, we're not going to sell tobacco. We have a lot of stores that say, we're not going to sell anymore. We'll go back and just double check that that's the case. We'll come back. You might be boarded up, or we'll go and look for tobacco products on your shelf. And then the final one is a virtual one. That's similar to the routine inspection. This is where you and I will do a Google Meet. I usually do about 4 or 5 a week. We were doing this because of COVID. We were not allowed to go out to meet everyone. And it's a time when I can meet the owners to go face to face, just like this. It usually takes about 10 minutes. You'll show me your license. That's that gold license you'll see. The blue state sign. I'll look at tobacco products, and I'll ask you a few questions. And it's working out really well. You don't need any fancy gadgets. You just got to make sure you have your a Google Meet app, like all of you have today, so you can accept the virtual routine. And that's it. And then you'll get an automatic report right after that's done. I'll type it into our database. So we keep track of all this on a big spreadsheet to make sure we're going here and going there. If anyone has any questions at any time, again, raise your hand or put it in the chat. Carrie, this is talking to you.
Thank you so much, Eric. And Carrie, I wanted to mention we've had several participants join in the last little bit while Eric was speaking. So I wanted to see if we could ask the new participants if they'd like to introduce themselves and tell us what business they're representing today. And also, if the reason you're late is because you were going to the WebEx link that was originally used, I want to apologize, and I'm so glad you got to us here.
Hey there, my name is Alex. I'm from El Gaucho, and yes, we did struggle with the web link, but we're here now.
This is James White from Smoker Zone, and I also was struggling with the web link, but now I'm on the phone.
My apologies, and I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mallory Vaughn. I'm representing El Gaucho Portland Steakhouse, and I also struggled with the WebEx link.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you to
Carrie, you might want to rehash for the people that came late what the breaking news was for everyone again.
Yep, no, I was just about to do that, Eric. Thank you, though. Folks who are just joining us, although we had billed this training to focus on the introduction of the restricting the sale of flavored tobacco and nicotine products, unfortunately, we had late breaking news on Friday. So let me just quickly bring you up to speed. On Friday, Multnomah County was notified that folks who had appealed the dismissal of the challenge to our policy had filed not only an appeal in early October, but last week also filed an emergency stay. And what that means is that Multnomah County will not be moving forward to implement a restriction on the sale of flavored tobacco and nicotine products. as of January 1st, 2024, as was planned, as was directed by the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners back in December of 2022 when they passed that policy. So we are currently in a moment of stoppage, I guess you could call it, and our program will continue to be in status quo, but we will not be addressing flavored tobacco and nicotine product sales in this training because there will be no change to your business as of January 1st, 2024. Retailers in Multnomah County will continue to be allowed to sell flavored tobacco and nicotine products. So that brings us up to date. I'll pause there if anybody has any questions about the changing landscape that we're operating under.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi. Yeah, sorry I'm late. I was trying to join, I think, with an outdated link to another meeting service, but
we do apologize for that. I understand several participants had that issue this morning.
okay, well, no problem. Here now. And I just came in, you're talking about the flavored tobacco products ban. I'm the cigar captain El Gaucho, and based on what you're saying, we do not need to stop selling flavored tobacco in January at this time?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And is there a timeline when we will need to stop selling it, or is it still under review?
So the emergency stay was filed last week. And what that means is a legal process for the appeal needs to move forward. And my understanding is that currently the Oregon Court of Appeal is very backed up. I don't have a timeline because the court doesn't give themselves a deadline in these processes. So we will certainly keep you updated. As soon as we know more, we will be communicating that out to our licensed retailers, just as we have been all along the way. You have not yet received notice of this stay, this motion to stop implementation, because we still need our attorneys to give us an interpretation, and perhaps they will also give us an idea of what the timeline will be for this stage of legal process. If so, we'll be sending out an email later this week through our listserv to all licensed retailers, letting you know what we know at that moment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. All right. Any more questions about the policy, to the status of the policy to restrict the sale of flavored tobacco and nicotine products in Multnomah County? Okay, Emily, we can go back. I believe we are in the penalty process. Yes, that is the slide. So as Eric just mentioned, there are 2 inspections that you will receive as a licensed retailer in Multnomah County every year. One is what we refer to as the routine inspection, where an inspector like Eric comes in, introduces himself, says hello, and runs through a checklist to make sure that your store is in compliance with all the federal, state, and local laws and rules that govern the sale of tobacco products. He will be visiting, an inspector will visit once a year. You all know about that. You've met Eric over the years. If Eric were to find a violation, we'll start with the right-hand side of this flow chart, where it says any other violation, meaning any other violation other than sales to a customer under the age of 21. So if Eric found that you did not have your current Multnomah County license posted, which is a violation under Multnomah County tobacco retail licensing rules, he would tell you that you'd have to have your license posted within the next 15 days. That's a remediation plan. He would make that note on the inspection form and you would receive a copy of that. He would come back after 15 days has passed to make sure that you have your license or your sign posted as is required. And then we consider that violation fixed, corrected, and therefore we clear it from your record and no penalty is issued. If Eric were to come back and the required state sign was not posted as he had directed when he originally came out, or the license was not posted as he had directed when he had originally inspected your store, that could move to a penalty. We have very few penalties that are issued for those types of violations discovered during a routine inspection. Because again, our goal is to help you be in compliance with all these rules, regulations, and laws that govern the sale of tobacco and nicotine products, which is why we enter remediation with a retailer. We'd like to help you fix whatever we're finding in your store so that there are no penalties. However, let's move to the left side of this flow chart. However, if there is an illegal sale to a customer under the age of 21, meaning one of our youth inspectors that Eric spoke about, there is no remediation. So let me say that again. If your store sells to one of our youth inspectors during that annual routine or annual youth inspection, that is an automatic penalty. There is no remediation for that violation of your tobacco retail license. That is the #1 reason this program exists, to make sure that your stores are not selling to youth. Again, from a public health lens, that is the most important goal for this regulatory program. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, I understand, you are, of course, gonna let us know of any, whatever information you think is pertinent as pertains to youth inspections. My question is, in the specific case of El Gaucho, where we are a restaurant with a cigar lounge, where predominantly most of our business is dine in, or in the very least, people who consume on site their cigars. With a youth inspection, would that be people who are ordering cigars to go? Would they ever have a seat and try to order, inside the cigar room? I guess is my question.
So I would have to pull up the failed inspection report for El Gaucho's youth inspection that failed recently to tell you the details of that, sir.
It was to go. I guess I'm just curious. I'm under the assumption that, we need to be, of course, hyper vigilant in all instances, but particularly with to go is probably the main concern from like a youth standpoint, because anyone who sits down, we immediately card, and so it kind of gets a little loose. It can. I mean, we're tightening it, so it's not going to happen again. But I guess my question is, are youth inspectors always going to operate under that to go kind of ordering, or would they ever sit down and try to get away with like being in the room, which is not allowed if you're under 21?
Well, sir, we will do it whichever way we think is best to test your compliance. And I will just tell you, although your sit-down facility may be customers only over the age of 21, unfortunately, we have a high rate of fail in all of our facilities that are over the age of 21. Okay. So often when a retailer calls me to discuss this, and I realize that I'm speaking to an establishment that actually doesn't allow customers under the age of 21, I remind everyone that we are not the OLCC. However, I want to bring your attention to the fact that our youth inspector was in your establishment, and that in and of itself is a concern to the state agency.
Got it. Thank you.